Welcome to Vows Stories. Sit back, relax, and get ready for another unbelievable Reddit story. Let's begin.
My fiancé said, "If you really love me, you'll let me go see him." I nodded. "Go ahead." 3 days later, she came back, expecting forgiveness. Instead, she found something waiting on the kitchen table. She set it standing in our bedroom doorway with her arms crossed, like she had rehearsed the posture in front of the mirror before walking in. "If you really love me, you will let me go see him." Just to say goodbye properly, just to close the door the right way. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, unlacing my boots, and I remember the exact second my hands stopped moving, not because I was shocked, because I was calculating. She had already booked the flight. I could see the airline app still open on her phone screen, glowing on the nightstand where she had set it down like it was nothing, like it was a hair appointment. I looked up at her, and I said the only 2 words that mattered. "Go ahead." She blinked like she had prepared for an argument and didn't know what to do with the absence of one. She asked if I was serious. I told her I was completely serious, that I trusted her, that 3 days wouldn't change 6 years, and that I wanted her to go with a clear conscience so we could start the marriage without a ghost sitting at our dinner table. She kissed my forehead like I had passed a test I didn't know I was taking. She left the next morning with a suitcase that was slightly too full for a goodbye trip. Let me tell you who I am before I tell you what I did, because the two are connected. I am 34, I run a small IT security consultancy, and I have spent 11 years of my professional life doing exactly one thing: finding the gap between what people say is happening and what is actually happening. I do not raise my voice. I do not throw things. I have never once in my life sent an angry text I regretted, because I have never sent a text before thinking it through completely. My fiancée knew this about me and married the version of it that made her feel safe. She forgot, somewhere along the way, that the same mind that makes me safe to come home to is the same mind that notices when the story does not add up. The story did not add up. She said she was going to see him, an ex from before we met, to close a loop, to say the goodbye she never got to say when he moved across the country 4 years ago. But 4 years is a long time to leave a loop open, and closure trips do not usually require a new lace set purchased 2 weeks earlier and hidden in the bottom of a gym bag I was not supposed to open. I had opened it anyway, 3 days before any of this happened, looking for a charger. I had said nothing. I had simply filed it, the way I file everything, in the back of my mind, where facts wait quietly until they are needed. So the morning her plane left, I did not sit in the apartment and stew. I sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop, and I opened every account I had legitimate access to, because 6 years of shared life means shared everything. Shared cloud storage, shared photo backups, shared calendar invites. Neither of us ever bothered to make private from the other. I found the calendar entry first, sitting quietly under a generic label, a dinner reservation for 2 at a restaurant 3 miles from where her ex now lived, made under his name, made 2 weeks before she ever brought up the idea of a goodbye trip to me. I found the hotel booking next, a suite, not a single room, paid for on a card I did not recognize, registered to an account with her maiden name and a billing address that was not ours. I cross-referenced the dates against a series of photos backed up automatically from her phone, time-stamped, geotagged, uploaded the way photos upload when you forget your phone still does that. There were 4 photos from 2 months earlier. A rooftop bar. His hand on her waist in one of them, casual, familiar, the kind of familiar that only comes from repetition. This was not a goodbye trip. This was a continuation with a farewell story stapled to the front of it, so I would hand her the ticket myself. I did not call her. I did not text her. I made coffee, and I sat with the information the way I sit with a security breach at work, cataloging the entry points, understanding the full scope before I touch anything. By that evening, I had built a complete timeline. 14 months. 14 months of a relationship running quietly underneath ours, surfacing occasionally in small, unexplained absences I had chalked up to work trips and girls' nights, each one now slotting perfectly into place like tumblers in a lock finally turning. The ring came off my priority list of things to protect the moment I closed that laptop. I drove to the jeweler the next morning and I had the engagement ring appraised, then I sold it, cleanly, at a fair price, no drama, the way you liquidate an asset that no longer serves a purpose. I used part of that money to hire a locksmith the same afternoon. Every lock in the apartment, replaced, keyed differently. No spares given to the leasing office where she still had a signed authorization on file. I called that leasing office directly and had her removed from the authorized access list, citing the lease renewal clause that required both parties to consent to any listed guest, which she had not, because she had never read the lease she signed 4 years ago. I packed her belongings myself, not carelessly, not out of spite, but with the same clinical precision I bring to everything. Clothes folded, shoes paired, sentimental items set aside untouched, because I am not interested in destroying things that were never the problem. Everything went into 3 suitcases and 2 boxes, sealed, labeled, ready. Then I called her sister. I want to be clear that I did not call her sister to gossip or to build an alliance out of spite. I called because her sister had reached out to me privately 6 weeks earlier, hesitant, careful, telling me she had seen something on social media she thought I should know about, but hadn't had the courage to send. I had thanked her at the time and told her I would look into it myself because I did not want to act on second-hand suspicion. Now I had more than suspicion. Her sister listened to the timeline in near silence, and when I finished, she said something I have not forgotten. She said, "I kept hoping I was wrong, because if I was wrong, I lose nothing. But if I was right, I lose her trust the moment I tell you." I told her she had lost nothing. I told her the receipts had already done the telling for her. She asked if she could be there when it happened. I did not see a reason to say no. By the second evening, the apartment had a different quality to it, the particular stillness of a space that has already been emotionally vacated, even though the furniture has not moved yet. Her sister arrived around 7 with a bag of takeout neither of us really touched, and we sat at the kitchen table going over logistics the way you'd plan a small operation, because that is essentially what it was. The suitcases were staged by the door. The new keys sat in a small dish on the counter, useless to anyone but me. And on the kitchen table, where she would see it the second she walked in, sat a single manila folder, printed, organized, tabbed. Inside it, every photo, every reservation, every dated screenshot laid out in chronological order with the same detached clarity I would use in a client incident report. On top of the folder sat the ring, no longer mine to give, sold and converted into a cashier's check made out in her name for exactly her half of what we had jointly saved for the wedding, because I did not want a single dollar of this to be about money. This was never about money. She texted me from the airport when she landed. "Home in an hour, can't wait to talk." I did not respond. I wanted her to walk into what she had built rather than be warned about it, because warnings give people time to construct a version of events, and I had spent 3 days making sure no version of events would survive contact with the folder on that table. Her key did not work. I heard about that part secondhand, because by then I was sitting quietly in the living room with her sister, waiting. There was a pause at the door, then a knock. Tentative at first, then more insistent, the particular rhythm of someone who cannot yet believe the lock is not simply broken. I opened the door myself. She stood there with her suitcase from the trip still in hand, tan from 3 days somewhere warm, her expression shifting the moment she saw her sister sitting on the couch behind me, calm, arms folded, waiting. She asked what was going on before she had even stepped inside. I told her to come in and see for herself. She walked to the kitchen table the way you walk toward something you already suspect is bad news, slower with every step, and when she opened that folder, I watched her face do exactly what I expected it to do. The color left it in stages. She looked at the photos, then the hotel receipt, then the dinner reservation dated 2 weeks before her goodbye story had even been invented, and she said my name in a voice that had lost every bit of its usual confidence. I did not raise my voice back. I told her the cashier's check was on top for a reason, that I did not want anything of hers, that her belongings were packed and ready by the door, and that her sister had offered to drive her wherever she needed to go tonight. She looked at her sister, hoping for an ally, and found instead someone who had already made her choice 6 weeks ago and simply hadn't said it out loud yet. She said my name again, this time trying for softness, trying the tone that had worked on me for 6 years. I told her that I had let her go exactly like she asked, that I had never once tried to stop her from getting on that plane, and that the only thing I had asked of her in return was honesty, which she had spent 14 months proving she did not have to offer. She reached for the folder like she might argue with the paper itself. I did not stop her. There was nothing left in it to dispute. She left within the hour, suitcases loaded into her sister's car, the apartment quiet again in a way it had not been in longer than I realized. I sat back down at the kitchen table where the folder had been and where the ring had briefly rested before it became a check instead, and I noticed, for the first time in 3 days, that my hands were completely steady. People have asked me since whether I felt satisfaction watching her read that folder. I did not. What I felt was the particular relief of a system finally returning to a state that matched reality, the same feeling I get at work when a vulnerability I have tracked for weeks is finally patched and confirmed closed. I was never trying to win anything. I was trying to stop living inside a version of my life that had already stopped being true months before I found out. The kitchen table is still there. We still eat off it, my sister and I, most Sunday evenings now, because it turns out the sister I called that week has become one of the steadiest people in my life since. I never intended that. It simply happened, the way honest things tend to arrange themselves once you stop protecting a lie that was never yours to protect. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I regret selling the ring instead of keeping it as leverage. I don't. I was never trying to hold on to anything that already belonged to a version of my life that ended 14 months before I knew it. Edit 2. To everyone asking about the sister, no, nothing romantic. Just two people who both got tired of protecting someone who never protected either of us back.